Parents spend hundreds of dollars a month on early learning apps, sensory classes, and genius baby flashcard kits, chasing something that researchers have actually traced back to a single invisible habit some parenting cultures build in before age 3. Dr. Ruth Chiao, a developmental psychologist who spent years studying parenting styles across cultures, found something that surprised a lot of Western researchers. What looked like strict discipline in many Chinese parenting households wasn't really about control at all. It had a name in Mandarin, chiao shun, which translates roughly to training, not punishment. Training. Here's the plain version. It's the practice of teaching a child, very early and very consistently, that actions have predictable outcomes, before the child can even fully talk back about it. That's it. No app, no flashcards, no genius program. Picture this. You're at the dinner table. Your 18-month-old reaches for the same spoon for the third night in a row, and you say the same 4 words in the same calm tone every single time. Spoon stays on table. Not yelled, not softened into a question, just consistent. Your child looks up at you, pauses, and puts the spoon down half a second faster than they did last week. That pause? That's not obedience. That's a brain quietly learning that the world has patterns and that you are a reliable narrator of those patterns. Parents in cultures that emphasize chiao shun aren't trying to make compliant kids. They're building something more specific, an early, rock-solid sense that boundaries are predictable, which, as you'll see in a moment, turns out to matter far more for a child's confidence than we usually give it credit for. For decades, Western parenting research assumed warmth and permissiveness were the gold standard, and firm early structure was something to apologize for. Then researchers looking at outcomes across cultures found something that didn't fit the story. It's not the strictness of the household that predicts a confident, emotionally secure toddler, it's the predictability of it. Kids who could reliably guess what would happen next, before they could tie their own shoes, showed stronger self-regulation later on than kids raised in warm but inconsistent households. Not richer, not smarter, not more resourced, just more consistent. And this holds true whether that consistency comes from a parent working 2 jobs, a grandparent raising a child solo, or a family with every resource in the world. Predictability doesn't cost anything. It just costs repetition. Now picture the opposite. Researchers studying early attachment and behavior, going back to foundational work on how infants respond to inconsistent caregiving, noticed something almost heartbreaking. When a child can't predict how an adult will respond to the same action from one day to the next, they don't relax into freedom. They tighten up. They test more. They cry longer, harder, and more often, hunting for the edges of a boundary that keeps moving. It's not defiance. It's a nervous system trying to map a world that won't hold still. Watch a toddler in that situation closely enough, and you'll see it. The same reach for the same forbidden thing over and over, faster and more frantic each time, not because they're testing you, but because they're still waiting for the pattern to appear. None of this is about which parents are doing it right and which aren't. Most of us stumble into inconsistency by accident. We're tired, distracted, negotiating with a toddler at 6 p.m. after a 10-hour day. This isn't about blame. It's about noticing where the pattern already lives in your house so you can make it a little more solid on purpose. Here's a simple 3-step practice you can start tonight. No prep, no materials, no schedule change. Step 1. Pick one phrase and only one. Choose a single boundary you reset on most. Mealtime, bedtime, screens. Whatever your household's daily friction point is, and commit to exactly one sentence you'll use every single time. Not a paraphrase, the same words. Try saying, "Shoes stay by the door." Say it the same way whether you're calm, rushed, or at the end of your rope. The words matter less than the repetition. Step 2. Match your tone to the words, not your mood. Kids read tone faster than they read vocabulary. If the words are calm but your face says, "I'm about to lose it," the message splits in two and the pattern blurs. Try saying it slowly at chest height, making eye contact. Shoes, by the door, every time. It doesn't need to be stern, It needs to be steady. Step 3. Let the outcome repeat itself even when you're tired. This is the step most of us skip, not because we don't care, but because consistency is boring, and boring is hard at 6 p.m. The outcome doesn't need to be big, it just needs to happen the same way every time, even on the nights you'd rather not bother. Try saying, "Same as yesterday, shoes go by the door before we play." Compare that to a $40 a month learning app promising to build executive function through gamified lessons, or a sensory class that meets once a week for 45 minutes. Neither one can do what happens in your kitchen every single evening in the same 4 words. Apps model patterns on a screen. You model them in real time in a relationship the child already trusts more than any screen ever will. So, back to where we started. The apps, the classes, the flashcard kits, all promising to build something in your child that turns out to already be buildable at your own dinner table. For free, tonight. No subscription, no sign-up, no download. Just 4 words, said the same way over and over until they don't need saying anymore. And here's the part most parents don't realize. If you've ever repeated a bedtime routine because you were too tired to improvise something new, if you've ever said the same phrase about shoes or screens or spoons more times than you can count, you weren't being repetitive. You were being exactly the kind of parent this research says matters most. You're probably already doing more of this than you're giving yourself credit for. If this changed how you think about consistency, subscribing means you'll keep getting the research your child's development actually depends on. Not another app, not another gadget, just what works. And if you share this with another parent, you're not doing me a favor. You're handing them the same 4 words that might save them a car seat full of guilt tonight. Same words, same time, every day.